Alright, welcome. This is Nick Marine presenting Let's Read Japanese, course series for the reading of Japanese text alongside its audio counterpart. So the way this works, the Japanese text is going to be displayed over here and I'll be reading it. Normally these are subtitle rips from TV shows, but they could also be digital books. And the counterpart audio is going to be played up above. Normally it's from the TV shows the subtitles came from, but it could also be the audio book for the digital books that I'm reading. Alright, so I'm reading along with the audio. The benefit here, I get to hear how I'm getting here native pronunciation of the text that I'm reading, which is pretty good. I'm not sub-vocalizing a wrong pronunciation. I may even notice like a word that I would have normally have mispronounced. Other benefits going to be as you read along, you get to have better comprehension, and I feel you get better comprehension and retention of the information that what you're reading, especially even though this is entertainment. Finally, also as I read along, if I come across a word I don't know, I'm going to pause the audio real quick and then look up the meaning of that word or phrase with the pop-up dictionary called Yomi-chan. The benefit here is I could use a Japanese definition, so it's technically recursive immersion there, using Japanese to learn Japanese, or I go and look at the English translation real quick. Either way is fine. But again, this increases the comprehension, the comprehension of the overall story, which is going to be very important. So I'm not missing any essential plot points, which makes, again, the story is much more enjoyable when I think back on it, if that makes sense. And of course, there's going to be some other benefits. And after you do this, you can watch it again straight through without, just like a normal video, and then have a much higher comprehension of the show than if you had just tried to watch the show twice through just by itself. So there is that as well. Okay, so just with that out of the way, if you enjoy this video, if you end up enjoying this video, remember to give it a thumbs up or a like. If you like this series, and if you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. I make many more videos like this, many more series like this. Finally, this is a project called the Let's Learn Japanese Project, basically around the stuff I do to help people, one way or another, helping with learning Japanese. If you'd like to support that project, you can become, there are direct links to the Patreon below where you can become a patron. In addition to, there are links in the description to the Let's Learn Japanese website made by Otaku Dave, and the Let's Learn Japanese Community Discord. Finally, if you'd like to commission an hour of my time, the rates there are given via the a direct link to the Patreon of that particular thing. And again, this is commission. Basically, it could be technical assistance, tutoring, advice, whatever. And yeah, so there's that. Okay, so that all is out of the way. This is Let's Read Japanese, GTO, Great Teacher Onizuka, Episode 7, Part 2. All right. So again, I've kind of mentioned these are kind of dark, as in society dark, if that makes sense. So it's not dark as in it makes you feel bad, but again, it's about subject matters not normally discussed or talked about. I'm assuming not really talked about in polite company, I guess would be a good way of saying that. So yeah, this one is about teenage prostitution. So there you go. That's yeah, take with that what you will. Yeah, and again, it's specifically in Japan, which is a little different than what you would experience. There were stories in the U.S. about, teenagers that would, like, essentially, the guy would buy them, let's say, a brand name handbag or clothing or whatnot, and then in exchange for sex. So that very similar to what we're seeing here. So it might not even be direct money exchange. It could be, depending on depends on the situation, but whatever, it's some type of compensation for. The way you read it's like oh, the idea of it at first is like, oh, it's just like you're paying for a date, but the implication is that because of the implications, sorry, different show obviously, but the implication is that this will turn into sex at a hotel. All right, so with that, and again, I was just kind of discussing how it's a very common thing in Japan. It's very, very common in Japan. Well known. Not necessarily this particular, but all the various ways of essential illegal prostitution. Both with the hostess bars, which hostess clubs that turn in essentially then like you saw in the previous video, where it then led into him taking the lady who was just supposedly just working at a hostess club, but then the implication is that you could then talk to her and then maybe discuss meeting up later, which happened in that particular story. There are different levels of sexual services. You know, I think health would be like there's no actual penetrative sex, but everything all up until that point. I think you've seen Shinyo Shokudo. There's one where it's, you know, strip clubs. You know, so we have that. Some of it where you actually the lady goes to the place you pick, either your place or a park or a hotel or whatnot. Yeah, that was kind of like delivery health. Yes, deli health. I don't know how to pronounce it. And there's like websites where you can just basically do searches and meet, you know, in the stores you'll see like, was it Manzoku? I'm not quite sure what it's called, but like big magazines, you know, for either Tokyo or Yokohama, the two big major cities. I'm sure there's other cities as well, but this is the two that I've seen. With essentially just all either the bars, clubs, and also people that you can call up and hire through either services or directly. You know, there you go. It feels a lot more blatant. It's more restricted in the U.S. It's much more open than in the U.S. But there's still, even in that, where it's kind of like broadly accepted, because even though there then is even darker sides that goes into criminality. Here we got obviously underage girls, but it also could be like forced when in the event of using human trafficking. I don't think this goes to that, but you know, some other dramas kind of hint at that or even show it as well. So those are things you got to look out. That's one of the problems we have essentially legalized prostitution is it can be used then as to help make the human trafficking even easier, because there's, again, the humans are going to be trafficked for the purpose of an activity that is legal, but they don't have let's say the workers to cover the ones who want to work in the population, so they're bringing in or maybe they want a bigger cut. Whereas if you have someone from the local population, that person wants a bigger cut because, you know, again, they're not forced into it; they want to do it, and they're not they don't have to bend to the wills of the pimp or whatever the word is. And some of this is guesswork on my point. Some of this is stuff I've seen on TV. Some of it's news. Some of it is talking to people and hearing like, oh yeah, because again they get better parts of the story. So yeah, just it's out there to figure out and find. It's kind of interesting, especially if you live in Japan. It's just an aspect of Japanese society that's known, but it's like they turn a blind eye to. You know, it's like, oh, it's expected, but you don't talk about it. I think my wife told me a story because she works in accounting, and one time, like, you know, usually they get like, oh, this is a business expense. So she was approving one business expense. She was asking about it, I guess, and apparently I said, oh yeah, that was maybe some type of prostitution club or whatnot. It wasn't like a legit business expense, but apparently it had to be approved anyway because of the person who submitted it or whatnot, because otherwise it would cause a scandal. She said I don't know if she said it, maybe I kind of like felt dirty, like it felt wrong doing it, whatnot. So yeah, because you kind of saw it there. It's like, this is Kacho, like in this particular story, that this guy was taking a potential client to a hostess club, right? So that would be a business expense, including hiring the girl who would, in fact, the scene coming up. All right, I'm talking way too much. Let's just get into the drama. Sorry about that.
おお、ここ打ってんだラブホテルって。お、唐揚げまであるよ。もう神経かってんのかな。
Where are we at? New song, 新曲。
早く脱いだわ。
チカッコ、お前に一つだけ頼みある。
何よ。
脱ぐ前にお前ルーズソックス履け。
ルーズソックス。
ほら、うちの学校ルーズソックじゃねえだろ。俺あれに頭きてる。
てないで早くシャワーでも浴びてきたら。
お前その前に逃げようってんだろ。
やっぱよ、ほら、やるんだったら本当に好きな女とやりてえな。なあ千佳子、お前こんなことしてたらお前セックスが嫌いになっちゃうんじゃねえのか。金のためにやるってことはお前セックスしてる時よりも終わってほら金使う方が楽しいわけだろ。お前そんな絶対変だって。本当に好きなやつやるときな、心から喜びたくなるぞな。
ここでいい。
なあ、ちゃんとお金ちょうだいよ。
分かってるよ。
He's such a creep. Oh yeah, this. He's a creep. No, if he, again, if it wasn't that he was a creep, but obviously if he was a real teacher, he saw that. Obviously, there's something wrong there. If a teacher's leaving a level hotel with a student, that needs to be reported. But again, he's an asshole and a creep, and basically kind of being set up for taking a bribe for about dealing with school textbooks. And then of course you got this guy looking through his daughter's address book.
鬼塚は俺何心配してんだ。うちの娘に限ってあんな男に騙されるわけはないよな。
Yeah, I probably should skip over this part, but it's still funny as hell, right?
やりましたよ、教頭。とうとう尻尾を掴んだんですよ。
Oh, oh, tailing. Okay. That's one.
鬼塚のとうとう尻尾を掴んだんですよ、鬼塚の。あいつもついに年貢の納め時です。
年貢の納め時。Ah, 年貢の。Okay, what's 年貢? Assume that's tax, yearly tax, land tax. 納め年貢の納め時。
これであいつもついに年貢の納め時です。これで校長も決まりですよ、教頭。中丸先生にお任せしますよ。教頭。もしもし、もし。まったく頼りにならないんだから教頭も。私じゃなきゃダメか、我が学園も。
Okay. See what he's doing real quick. Okay, that's Yabi. Takeshi? Okay, this is...
もしもし、
みやび、やばいよ。
どうしたの？
ホテル出るとこ中丸に見つかっちゃって、明日学校に来いって言われたの。
マジ？
絶対退学だよ私。
ただいま。
ちょっと待って、
相手の親父とうまく話し合わせてごまかしたら？
それが相手っていうのが鬼塚なの。
鬼塚？
どうしようみやび。
いい考えがある。
何？
鬼の首を取ったとはこのことですね、鬼塚先生。
鬼の首を取った。うん。鬼の首を取ったとは。
鬼の首を取ったとはこのことですね、鬼塚先生。教師が生徒と不純異性交友するとは。
Yeah, no, it's like inappropriate affairs with a student. 不純異性交友不純異性交友。
教師が生徒と不純異性交友するとは一体何事ですか？
俺たちはほらやましいことしてませんから。
ほっとぼけても無駄ですよ。私はね、はっきり見たんだ。君たち二人がラブホテルから出てくるところを。
中村先生こそなんでそんなとこいたんですか？
私は別に生活指導の一環として街を巡回。
生活指導。Being a teacher? Guidance. Civil guidance. Non-Creek, okay. 生活指導。The area in the gun. Together. Okay. 生活指導。
生活指導の一環として街を巡回していただける。そのおかげで君らのハレンチな行為を発見することができたんじゃないかい。
ハレンチ。No. Shameless. ハレンチ。Okay. ハレンチ。ハレンチな。
あれはほら
発見することはそのおかげで君らのハレンチな行為を発見することができたんじゃないかい。
あれはほら一種の課外授業です。
一種課外授業。一種の課外授業。
なんだと？
あれはほら一種の課外授業です。
なんだと？
ラブホテルに行ってこいつと愛と性について語り合っただけです。
That doesn't sound right.
そんなねバカバカしい言い訳が通じると思ってんのか君は。
近くなんか言ったよお前な。
どうなんだ、言ったことはなら言ってみなさい。
私
ほら近く何もしてないのかビシッと言ってんのビシッと。
私
ビシッと。厳しさな。Clearly. Oh. ビシャリ。Rebuke. ビシッと。
ビシッと言ってんのビシッと。
私鬼塚先生に、鬼塚先生に無理やり襲われました。
Oh. Tried to fight, couldn't fight against him. Okay. Let's see if that's a full phrase. Okay, against Mumio, and then was attacked. Also, ありました。Okay.
鬼塚先生に無理やり襲われました。
なんだと。
さすがだねみやび。これで鬼塚の首間違いなし。
まあね。ああ見たかったな、あいつの情けない顔。どうかしたの？
鬼塚のやつ反論しなかったんだ。
So he didn't oppose it, or he didn't oppose. He didn't, yeah. So offer objections. 相手の意見や、yeah. No, come on, let's get out of there. Hello. Speaking of which, let me look real quick. Yeah, a couple people are watching right now.
私が何言ってもね、黙って聞いてんの。
諦めたんじゃないの？言い訳してもしょうがないって。
そうかな。
あんたさ、ひょっとして罪悪感とか感じちゃってるわけ？
そう。
罪悪感、sense of guilt? 悪いこと、非難されるべきこと、可視と気持ち、yeah, so sense of guilt, feeling guilt. 罪悪感。
そう。
あんたさ、ひょっとして罪悪感とか感じちゃってるわけ？
そうじゃないけど。
それとも、
You're not actually saying 罪悪感? 罪悪感? 罪悪感. Okay. 罪悪感, 罪悪感。
本当鬼塚とやったりして。
何言ってんの？
だってあんたお金欲しがってたじゃない。どうせ鬼塚にうまく丸め込まれたんじゃないの？
みやびと。
丸め込む。丸めっていうのは、okay. Suddenly hit the bullseye. Center or circling in on it. Weed or control. Okay. 丸め込まれた。丸め込まれた。
みや
どうせ鬼塚にうまく丸め込まれたんじゃないの？
みやび、どうしてそんなこと言うの？
そうだ、ひどいよみやび。
私に口答えしないで。コンサート行くんでもご飯食べる時だっていつも私のおごりじゃない。
Oh, she's calling in the receipts.
テストの時だって私が答え見せてやんなかったらあんたたちなんかろくな点取れないじゃない。今度のことだって私が助けてやんなかったらあんた退学になってたんだよ。それでもそっちの方が良かったわけ。
ちかこ、ちょっと待って。
自分じゃ何もできないくせに人に偉そうなこと言わないでくれる？
はいはい。あ、冬月先生。ちょっと待ってください。散らかってるから。
ここで結構です。
え、どうしたんですか、そんな怖い顔して。
どうしたじゃないでしょ。あんな問題起こしといて。
安心してください。俺は何にもしてませんから。
日頃のあなた見てて「はいそうですか」って言えると思う？この間だって「英吉」って言われてヘラヘラしてたくせに。そんな人をどうやって信用しろって言うんですか？
じゃあちょっと待ってくださいね。まだ使ってません。ダメですか、これじゃ。
じゃあなんで黙ってるんですか？どうして潔白を証明しようとしないんですか？
It's a confession. Your innocence. Yeah. 後ろ暗いところがない。Yeah. There's one's innocence. 潔白。
どうして潔白を証明しようとしないんですか？大島千佳子は嘘ついてるわけでしょ。
ほら、嘘ついてるやつはいつか本当のこと言うもんです。
え？
それに俺はほら、あいつを信じてますから。
もしもし、大島ですが。
大島。
中丸先生、先日はどうも。はい、ありがとうございます。はい、明日には学校の方へですね、テキストを収めさせていただきますので。
Well, there's a osameru. So nin something with osame. 今度。osameru. しかるべきところにしまうまたしまったように。結果として手に入れる。Oh, it's, to verify. I guess it's like a test, not a test, but like to verify the quality. Let's see, what is this? Dedicate, make an offering. I was way off there. Pay a fee. 納めさせ。
テキストを収めさせていただきますので。
それから例の件お願いしますね。
はい。お礼と言ってはなんですが、また一席設けさせていただきますので。
そうじゃなくて、ほら、 私もマンションのローンとかいろいろ苦しいんですよ。
あ
だからこの間こちらの口座番号もお教えしたでしょ。
Okay. Yeah, so yeah. Kozai Bango. You're gonna give him his account number.
入るじゃんそれって。
Whoa. So I know that's a bribery. Let's see. Wairu. Corruption. Wairu-chan.
入るじゃんそれって。
Says the lady who's going to be stealing $1,000 from someone pretending to be a prostitute. But I like that though. She hates the idea that her father is being asked for a bribe.
それしかしそれは。
別にいいんですよ。無理なら他の業者さんに変更してもいいんだし。
Now you notice he didn't kind of come out and say it, and if you remembered some stuff with U.S. politics over like the last year, there was one where essentially he was like demanding a bribe. I mean, blatantly, and even though it was like trying to be he's trying to act like a mob boss. So that was with the U.S. president, former U.S. president, with that. And you know, again, he didn't come out and say, "No, I want this money," and I want you to put it in this account. Instead, it was like, "Oh, hey, you know, I've got a problem with this loan. Oh, and by the way, here's my bank account number. You know, do with it what you will," which is bullshit, by the way. I mean, no, like I said, that you would still get convicted with that. Not necessarily like if you're president, it doesn't mean you're going to get charged with the impeachment articles, but afterwards things could be quite different. Anyway, here we go.
他の業者さんに変更してもいいんだし。
There we go.
わかりました。請求書の額を実際より多めに書いておきますから。こちらに支払っていただいた後にその差額をですね。
What's this one? Okay, in the secondary books. Okay. Difference. Gotcha. So that's the trick. Basically, this is... Yeah, okay, so that's why. He's trying to actually... So that's... He's not asking a bribe from him. So if I'm reading this correctly, maybe I'm wrong. He's basically going to have overcharge for the books. And then the difference gets sent back to the corrupt teacher. So it's not a direct bribe. So the other guy still has to pull off his part, and then the overhead gets back. So because obviously the money's not coming out of the teacher's salary or anything, it's just, and the teacher has no financial investment in the schools, no skin off his ass for that. So yeah, he's skimming off the top. There's the term. There we go.
口座に振り込ませていただきます。はい。それでは明日。失礼いたします。
No, Myonichi. I don't see it like that. Okay. Myonichi. So it's Asu, Ashita, but Myonichi. Okay. You don't normally hear it like that. I guess it would make sense for her. Alrighty.
お、どうした生徒。
緊急職員会議って何ですか？
今度こそクビみたいよ鬼塚先生。
本当ですか？
いや私もまさかとは思うんだけど。
中丸先生ですよね、招集かけたの。
教頭は最近全然姿見せないそうよ。
鬼塚になんかされたんですかね、教頭も。
教頭もって袴田先生も何か被害に遭われたんですか、鬼塚の。
まさか小谷先生こそ。
いや私は別に。勅使河原先生は？
You interrupted me trying to attempt to rape a fellow teacher. Other than that, nothing big. I mean, the other teacher obviously was just beating up a student. But for her, she just wasn't being a nice teacher. I can't feel too bad about her. I mean, her not a good teacher, but not the nothing I would say like, oh my God, she's irredeemable. Those other two, even the guy who kind of beat up the student, I wouldn't trust around students, but at least he's never done that before. If he's never done that before, he snapped. So he needs to really need to redeem himself there, but fix himself. But this guy needs to be in jail. He should not be in that building at all. He needs to be in jail.
いや僕だって
おはようございます。
おはようございます。
皆さん
Right, I'm saying you could not go. I'm sorry, I could not sit across from someone like that. I'm not even saying like it would happen to me if I knew it happened to someone else. It would not. It's like this would be unacceptable. Type. I'm surprised he even. I mean, just that he even came in is just insane. But they kind of let him get away with it in a way.
本日
Where are we at?
緊急に集まっていただきましたのは鬼塚先生が担任の生徒を襲うという今度こそ言い逃れのできない大不祥事を起こしてしまったから。
Okay.
今度こそ言い逃れのできない大不祥事を起こしてしまったから。こんなことがマスコミなどに漏れたら我が学園の名誉未来も完全に終わりです。
It's kind of weird when you say this, but I've had experience. I'll say this for the military, like something bad happened with someone in the division I worked in. Essentially, he sexually assaulted another person in the barracks. Another gentleman in the barracks. So he got removed from the ship, and they said, "Hey, we're just not going to talk about it." Another case where it was a sergeant. This was in the Marine Corps time. They were supposed to be on not guard duty, but like they were spending overnight at the camp that we're going to be doing field operations at. So since we already had the place already set up, but we weren't doing our field operations yet, they were essentially the watch for that. But the girl reported like he had sexually inappropriately touched her at night. Okay, so that needed to get reported and whatnot. So that one became public, but again, it wasn't like reveal it to the press. It was just about you just don't discuss it because again, it became a criminal matter. So it could be that they're not discussing it's a criminal matter, but they're not doing anything about it. They're trying to keep it from being reported to the police. When again, this is a student was assaulted, called the police. But again, this guy's a creep, and he's wanting just to use to get rid of the teacher, and so hopefully no other type of the eyes of justice don't focus on the school where a lot of corruption is going on. Again, he just the night before essentially demanded stealing from the school funds.
張り切ってますよね。
Okay, there we go. Where are we at here? Oh, here we go.
我が学園の名誉未来も完全に終わりです。
Oh, by the way, 名誉。
我が学園の名誉未来も完全に終わりです。
なんか張り切ってますよね、中丸先生。
張り切る。That's suicide. 自分の張る。自分に何 Oh, no, 張り切り。Okay, acting all emotional and whatnot. 心を引き締まる。Mind spirit. Okay.
張り切ってますよね、中丸先生。
Well, he's getting some money, or he thinks he is. Where are we at? Here we at.
教頭にでもなった気なんじゃない？
たとえ理事長がいくらごまかしても私はあのような教師の資格のない人間を絶
対に許しません。本日をもって鬼塚先生には絶対にやめていただきます。
ご苦労様です。あ、手伝いますよ。
すみません。
それから、例の2学期から使用するテキストの件なんですが、
Yep, there we go.
私は慎重にかつ公正な検討をした結果、
Fairness. Kose. Fair evaluation. Okay, Kose and
私は慎重にかつ公正な検討をした結果、
Katsu. Let's see if that's a full phrase. Katsu. Katsu sengo. Katsu kose na.
私は慎重にかつ公正な検討をした結果、最も信頼できる出版社のものに決定をいたしました。
何すんだあんた。やめなさい、ちょっと。
ちょっとお待ちください。
やめなさい。あ、何をやってるんですか。
何をやってんだあいつは。
やめなさいって。やめなさいよ。やめてくださいですか、一体。警察に電話してください。やめてくださいよ。やめてくださいってば。やめなさいよ。やめてください、本当に。何なんですか、あんた。
娘さんの担任の鬼塚英吉です。
何するんですか。ねえ。やめてください。あ、お願いです。ねえ。あんたまさか。
なんてことを。
自分のしてることが分かってんのか、鬼塚。クビだぞ。こんなことしたら即刻クビだ。もうどんなこと言っても言い逃れなんかできないぞ。
Careful about leaving receipts.
なんだそれは。
お前まさか。
そないまでするからよ。
どうなってんですか、大島さん。
お父さんだってしたくなかったよ、そんなこと。でもこの不景気でな、営業成績も上がらないからさ、会社の方針に従わないとリストラされるんだよ。だから仕方なく、それもこれも。
So the responsibilities of sales raised because of bad economic downturn for Keiki. The direction of the company couldn't follow the direction of the company. He'd be restored, basically be reassigned or fired, probably. Restora? Usually, I'm noticing like in probably business terms, sometimes like if it's a loan word, then it has more of a negative implication. It's not always the case, but sometimes they do it to hide the, or either give it a negative implication without a Japanese, or could be so they hide like the true meaning.
お前たちのために頑張らなきゃいけないと思ったからさ。
私たちのせいにしないでよ。家族のせいにして言い訳なんかしないでよ。
シカゴ、息なんな。大人は汚い汚いっつってるけどな、このままだとほら、お前らだって汚い大人になっちまうんじゃないのか。
Yeah, so she was going to give back the money to him, but he said, nah, throw it on the fire. He also threw the sales slips that was gonna be help get the money to this guy also.
待ちなさいよ。いいんですか、ほっといたままで。しっかりしてくださいよ、課長。なんで黙って見てるんですか。
I've seen him before. I've seen him in some other dramas.
こんなこったろうと思いましたよ。
So yeah, and he threw the book in the fire, showing yeah he accepts this as well. So it's yeah.
中丸先生になんか無理なんですよ、所詮。
鬼塚
Listen.
のことが全然分かってないんだから。
テキストの件どうなりましたか。もう確か納入されてるはずですよね。
No new. Oshimeru koto. Oh, the purchase of it. I'll make sure. Complete the purchase. Payment.
もう確か納入されてるはずですよね。
それがいろいろ手違いがありまして、もう少し検討したいんですが。
わかりました。
失礼します。
はい。中森先生。
はい。
あなたは鬼塚先生の件で何か私に話があるって言いませんでした？
その件もまた後日改めて。
Some later day. The day. 後日 take care of it another day.
その件もまた後日改めて。
そうですか。
失礼します。
I really like that principal, her character. The actress is nice too. I like her character, how she's treating the character.
中丸先生。はい。じゃあさっき焼き芋焼いてたんですか？
焼き芋。I wonder if that's a full phrase. No. So probably talking about the books.
マジで言ってんのあんたたち。このまま黙ってれば全部鬼塚のせいになってあいつがクビになるんだよ。それなのになんで本当のことなんか言うわけ。
自分たちが悪いんだよ。謝るのが当然じゃない。
バカじゃないの。大学になってもいいわけあんた。
汚い大人になりたくないからさ。私たち
安心してみやびなことはチクんないからさ。
その代わり
No, chiku. Actually, that's like being talon. That's right. Let me actually see the word for that. I think it's this one here. Yeah, nope, not that one. Chiku. Maybe it's this one. Nope. That one. All right.
こっちから絶好だから。
安心してみやびなことはチクんないからさ。
その代わりこっちから絶好だから。あんたなんか
こんなことしてただで済むと思ってんの？後悔しても知らないからね。
Gonna make them regret, huh? You don't understand how much. Okay. Or that's a full phrase. No.
よく話してくれた。偉いぞお前ら。心配なんかすんな。大学なんかならしねえから。
本当ですか？
てめえの担任信じろ。
失礼します。失礼します。
いい夢見んだよ。
大丈夫なんですか、あんなこと言って。
なんでですか？
教頭先生に報告するんでしょ。もしかしたら退学ってことも。
冗談じゃないですよ。その時は俺がビシッと守っております。あ、どうも教頭先生。
貴様なんぞい、我が家が崩壊されてたまるか。
なんぞに Let's see. 貴様なんぞに。
貴様なんぞい、我が家が崩壊されてたまるか。何ですか。
だから
貴様なんぞい、我が家が崩壊されてたまるか。
何ですか。だから
こうなったら容赦せんぞ。
Don't forgive your opponent. No pardon, no mercy.
だからこうなったら容赦せんぞ。貴様をこの学園から、いやこの町から、いや教育会から追放してやるよ。
なんかあったんですか？
はいはいはい、分かったわ。
会長。
じゃあその件はまた後で。あなたが鬼塚先生？
誰？あんた？
秋沢みやびのお母さん、 PTA 会長。
あなた、うちの娘にずいぶんひどいことなさってるそうですね。これ以上勝手な真似させませんからね。
There we go.
あなた、うちのこれ以上勝手な真似させませんからね。
There we go. Let's end on a stern look on his face. Alrighty, that let's see. The time's 47 minutes. It was talking quite a bit. All right, we'll say around 40 minutes. Again, this went a little faster. I was skipping over a bit more of the music portions, which again are more common in the second half of the episode. So the first half is a lot more dialogue because they're setting up the situation or the plot of the current episode. Makes sense. So it does take longer. Plus, I was talking a lot more about it, so that's why, again, the previous video took me like an hour, 15 minutes, even though I was kind of finished around the 1 hour mark. But even during that time, I was talking a lot. But again, it's why I do the videos. Part of it is just discussing about the episodes that I watch. Since it's I play this off on the idea that this is a kind of like a reaction. Part of it is, hey, I'm looking up what the words is. That's it's like any more than whatever a Let's Play does, but it's doing it with dramas. Now, I think it's legit. I think it makes for a legit video. People like watching it, so there is that. They get some benefit from it, and I don't think that watching this turns them off the desire to watch this episode by themselves. Now, because it's kind of like a review. If they see this and they don't like what they see, then yeah, okay. But that's like watching someone who makes a review or of a movie or a show. And it's like, okay, maybe I don't like that. Although obviously I'm showing, I'm playing out the entire dialogue of the show. So there is that. So I can explain well, yeah, you kind of ruined the purpose of even bothering to get it. But because of the interruptions and the critique that I'm offering in the middle of it, that does change or the experience of what one would be getting. Then again, you kind of want to experience this without some moron interrupting the flow of the narration. To give his 2 cents on one particular scene, or to pause and because he doesn't know what one of the words are. And did I drop out? It's saying no data. There we go. Yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Let's see, it's 12. Okay. But this was a good episode. I don't think it was too dark. kind of was because they're, because of the, again, it was like the school age or schoolgirl, teenage prostitution, basically. I think that's what they would call it. Sorry. I think it handled it quite well. And then of course you saw how, a corrupt teacher could, something as simple as that. And by the way, it happens more often than not. Like I remember, like on supply is where it's the worst. Like in the military where I'm at, because again, supply handles money, and when you got money and lack of not as much oversight, bad stuff can happen. People order more than they deserve. Maybe items start going missing and find their way through some local store because they get to buy it cheaper. That's one way of doing it. Like you saw here, where you pay more than what the cost would normally be sold at, and then the overage goes into the pocket of the guy who confirmed the purchase. There's that. There's a flat out bribe, which could happen. Kind of what you're seeing, like with the what happened prior, where it's like, hey, here's this lady. She gets you get to enjoy her company for an hour, and then afterwards you can enjoy her company for a few more hours. There's that. And it apparently was going to be paid for by the other company, so that was kind of remind me of a story I heard about from another company. Yeah, there's all sorts of things that can happen, like, and once corruption happens and someone knows, like, you kind of turn your eye to it the first time, you're kind of implicated in it, and so you might feel like you can't bring it up again because you're guilty of the same thing in a way. So it kind of like corruption builds on itself. That's why it's hard to root out corruption once it's entered into a system. It can be done, but it's like it's much more difficult. I mean, especially unless you like kind of clear out everyone and then bring in fresh people, which could happen. If you look into like what happens when you arrest a corporation, kind of like when they arrested a ship. The idea is like the non-officers of a corporation, or like the non-officers of a ship. Let's say the crew, they're never really guilty of if a ship gets arrested, so they could always work. But the officers or crew, they could be like, you're no longer allowed to be on a ship. So that basically the officers get removed from a ship and then new officers get put on. So now that's how you kind of like government could arrest a ship. You can also do the same thing with a corporation where you remove essentially the board of directors saying, okay, you're no longer allowed to direct this company. But you don't want to destroy the company because again, it's a financial thing that's beneficial to society or beneficial, let's say, to the state. So you want the company to still run, but you didn't install a new fresh board that's like, okay, and their job is to then get rid of all the upper managers and whatnot, and basically get rid of those that were allowing corruption to take place, and hopefully this could fix the problem. Now, they don't do that now, I don't think. They mainly say, okay, yeah, this corporation's dissolved, but they don't really arrest a corporation. Then you hear that saying, too big to fail. Well, if it's too big to fail, I'll tell you what, keep it there and then put in new people. The ones that would cause the problem, just make sure they get rid of them, and then make sure they are no longer allowed to run another corporation. All right, they still own stock in the corporation, they still vote, but they don't get to run it anymore. That sort of thing. That could happen. And same idea you can apply to a school. Hey, you know what? And they do it with ships, by the way. Not arresting a ship, but let's say if an admiral or a general loses faith in, let's say, a commander, he can get rid of the commander and all the subordinate officers of that command, and just put in new things, put in all new officers. On the idea that, like, the officers, and maybe even senior enlisted leadership as well, basically the ones that were like in control, allowing either bad stuff to happen, and then hopefully that can then fix some problems, because then it's much harder to hide stuff if there's some other tricks you can do to make sure, like, keep corruption like this from happening. Is one, keep changing, be willing to change, like make sure people go on vacation and they have someone to do the work while this person's gone for a week or two. If someone never takes a vacation, that it could be their dedicated work, but it's like, it also means they're afraid someone can get a closer look as to what they're doing. That you kind of, you know, like it's not the same as like, oh, I'm able to look in this guy's desk, but it's like you can look at, you got to do the paperwork. You know, hey, stuff is not lining up. You start all of a sudden you're not getting a warm fuzzy because even though it was like for a brief time, you can notice that if there's something dirty going down. That's a way to help prevent stuff like that. You know, make sure they're, you know, change positions. For one, it keeps a person trained and versatile, so that's always a good thing. Make sure they take vacations and maybe temporarily get sent off on other duties. That again, things that can help. It's a lot of companies don't like doing that because it's effort, and companies don't like effort if they can avoid it because they can. Again, they don't get money for it. Although the payoff of the lack of, because once there's corruption, you're going to be losing money. And if you see, you can lose a lot of money from it if it's happening on the inside. You know, same thing I've heard like with stores. You know, there is the loss of stealing from customers, but you know, when you got the people who know where the cameras are at and they got access to the goods where it can go out the back door, that's what happens when you got to worry more about the people who work in the store than the ones that are shopping in the store. Same thing with other businesses as well. You know, like the ones who control the cash register, you got to worry about. Okay. Anyway, I think I talked enough about that. So yeah, that school has some major problems. The biggest one is, of course, well, he wasn't a problem until he was given a little bit of authority. Then he became. That's where he immediately went to demanding a bribe. Immediately, he didn't even wait. Once he had the chance, he took it. Same as the teacher went immediately for the drugging of his coworker. The principal he's just horrible because he'll kick out any student for the smallest reason in the hopes that it would make the school appear better, even though it's not even though there's a lot wrong with the school. He just wants it to look like it's doing great, even though internally it's doing horrible. Yeah, and then of course the teacher with the anger problems. Okay, I think I talked enough. That was a good episode. Again, that's a good series. It is a good series. I know Shinya Shokudo is going to be a much slower, not as exciting as this, but I kind of like the idea of, and I know it's going to be difficult, but for right now, I think it'll still be worthwhile to, you know, do the series, you know, a season at a time. If I feel like, you know what, I don't feel like doing another season, I can always stop. It's just 10 episodes. They're short episodes, about 20 minutes in length. So I'm not going to be putting as much time toward it if it ends up being, you know, a bad. And then same thing with Kino Nani o Tabata. I did enjoy that series. So doing that as a Let's Read is going to be fun. Part of me is thinking like doing maybe season 1 of the first Terrace House, see how that works out, and if that works out good, I might even do the second season as well. I don't want to do like all the seasons of the first one, but I want to do the first one because I've heard that is of the Terrace House, that's the best. It's even ranked rating wise, it's also shown as being the best, you know, by individual user ratings. What else? Plus, hey, it's Netflix, so there's so many shows. If you got a show you think, hey, maybe it'll be kind of cool to check out, hey, leave a comment. That'll be kind of interesting. Maybe I got to start also telling people, hey, if you like the video, leave a like and a comment about what you thought about it, and then go from there, because that apparently helps. Although, again, I know there's not going to be a lot of people viewing this. I can't imagine anyone who's doing the type of immersion necessary for learning Japanese to a high level will be watching a guy who's trying to learn Japanese. Shouldn't be doing that. You should just watch the Japanese show directly. Do what I'm doing. That way you skip over all this part where I'm talking in English. And yeah, I'm probably not going to get to the point where I'm talking in Japanese. Probably would be good. I just would be so horrible at it. I feel so embarrassed. Even though I might get better and better by doing it, like sitting down and saying, so much that I got to, and then I get stuck right there because I can't really express myself. 自分の意見表現のは超難しいかな。Again, I'm saying it like saying it in the wrong way, using the horrible grammar, using the incorrect words. Again, it just looks bad. But it might be like more fun if I start doing it that way. Like maybe more people would watch it, and eventually I might turn to doing that for no other reason than that. You know, that's got to be the next step, is being willing to start talking out loud in Japanese. You know, in a, you know, make the mistakes, because that's, you know, get the talk for the number of hours where you make all the mistakes in the world, and slowly you burn yourself out of all the mistakes, and you start putting out the good stuff. Stuff happens when you're doing regular learning, so it can happen when you're doing spoken Japanese as well. Even though part of me thinks like by doing that, I should have someone there to correct the mistakes I make. That would probably be best. But I think we're good. Anyway, thank you all very much. It's been Nuke Marine. This has been Let's Read Japanese, GTO Episode 7, Part 2. In fact, let me write that down. So this will go private and then be made public again on June the 19th at 8 a.m. in the morning, Japanese time, like all the other videos. I'm about so right now I'm 8 days ahead. I need to get it built up to 14 days ahead. I kind of skipped 2 days. That's why I dropped back down. But yeah, so I'm doing about 2 of these videos a day. I'm recording about 2 of these videos a day. The idea, once I catch up, then I'll be doing some other Let's Reads as well. Then I got some stuff doing for studying on Anki stuff. I need to catch up on my reviews. I'm still backlogged on the reviews for Anki. But once I catch up on that, I'll start doing Shinkansen, Bunpo, and also sentence mining with sentence mining. Now, when I'm saying Shinkansen Bunpo, so the idea was, so I'm doing kanji, vocabulary, then grammar. Kanji, vocabulary, grammar. Kind of do that in a structured order, and that should go over well. But time will tell. I'm also thinking of putting together, making a video series. I don't know. I was trying to close off this. I was going to close off. Now I'm going into another Sekkyo sermon. But part of me is also thinking of redoing the hiragana katakana videos, kind of like in this format. But you know, I won't do the video here, me in the side. I'll actually just show like you know, the title up above, and then kind of show the kanji or the kana or whatever that's happening. I'll have that available, more visible, and then I can off to the side I can have like the writing that I need to look, the writing system. I think that can work out quite well. If I do it the correct way, it could make for a really good video series, and I'll do that for the Patreon. So I've already made videos that are public, the hiragana katakana videos and the 1100 kanji. So that's like 80 hours of video. Yeah, 80 hours of video that's out there. And those are completely functional. But I'm thinking, hey, you know what? Let me do something that's meant for the Patreon, and then that'll give our beginners a reason to, you know, be a member of the Patreon. And I'm actually making something for patrons, as opposed to doing this kind of this more abstract concept of helping, you know, random people out there with Japanese, both as me as a moderator of the Learn Japanese subreddit, or helping out on the Discord, or whatever, you know, people, hey, want a copy of this particular Anki deck, and they've got a book, so I give them the copy of the Anki deck because they proved that they own the book. Stuff like that. That's kind of abstract. But if we can do something that's a bit more direct, I think that could work. And there's a lot of material that I can approach. And I'm thinking mainly I'm going to concentrate on hiragana katakana. So that's easy enough. That's like 6 hours there. And I'll do the videos at 30 minutes, keep them at 30 minutes. I think it'll work out quite well. That's the idea. Especially with kanji, I've already got the idea of how I would do the kanji video, especially because of utilizing vocabulary as well. And then I'll make the Anki decks. I've already got the hiragana decks, so that's fine, but I'll make the Anki decks as well to go with it. I can't, beyond that, yeah, I think it should work out quite well. Plus, I do need to redo those hiragana katakana videos. They're just super old, and there was like a horrible audio. In fact, one of them, the audio is just horrendous. You can barely hear anything. So yeah, redoing that one might be a really good thing. With that said, I think that's about it. Thank you all very much. It's been Nuke Marine. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, thumbs up, and comment. As I said earlier, if you did I already say that? Yeah. If you enjoy the series, if you have it and you'd like to see more of it, and if you haven't already subscribed, you can subscribe to the channel and see a lot more of the series like this. Finally, if you'd like to support the Patreon project, as mentioned, the links to it are down below to the Patreon, so if you can become a patron, show your support that way. Also, finally, if you'd like to commission an hour of my time, that can be done also via the Patreon. So direct links to that is below. So for that, that's like, it could be for technical assistance, counseling, whatever, advice, and yeah, I think that's about it. So anyway, thank you all very much. I'll be back with episode 8 of GTO. That'll be tomorrow for my time, but it'll be, what did I mention? Yeah, June the 20th. Yeah, so June the 20th for people who are watching this not live, just when I make them available. All right, later, guys. Thank you all very much. It's been fun. Actually, how many people are watching? A couple people. All right, later, the 2 people that are watching live.